Good afternoon, class. This is Uriel Guerra speaking, and today I will talk about the Chamizal Treaty and the border settlement. The Chamizal is a piece of land, but it is also a symbol. It is a test of our ability to live as good neighbors. Where did this happen? The area was 600 acres no man's land between downtown El Paso and Juarez. Because of the land was disputed, no one could build permanent infrastructure there for decades, leading to a dead zone in the middle of two growing cities. When the conflict lasted 99 years, from 1864 to 1963. This is known as the century of disagreement. Context: massive flood in 1864 caused the Rio Grande to shift south, creating a 600-acre dispute zone known as El Chamizal. Historical background: origins. Explain the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, 1848. It started the border was the middle of the deepest channel. It didn't account for the river moving. The 1911 arbitration. This is a key detail. A Canadian judge was brought it in to break the tie between the US and Mexico. He ruled in favor of Mexico. The US government was so embarrassed they simply said no, and they ignored the ruling for 50 years. Terms to define: accretion, slow movement of soil. If this happened, the United States kept the land. Avulsion, a sudden violent fault shift. If, if this happened, Mexico kept the land. The 1864 event was clearly abolition. The Cold War pressure mentioned that John F. Kennedy wanted to wanted to settle because Fidel Castro in Cuba was using the Chamizal dispute as propaganda to show that the United States didn't respect Mexican government. Political history. This was a centerpiece of the Alliance for Progress. It was the first time a US President, John F. Kennedy, visited the Mexico City to a crowd of millions, largely because he promised to settle the Chamizal. Engineering marvel. The Chamizal project was a massive undertaking. They didn't just dig a ditch, they built 4.4-mile concrete line channel. They used over 160,000 cubic yards of concrete to ensure the river will never move again. Economic history. The project forced the relocation of the major railroads, Santa Fe and Southern Pacific, and required the construction of three new international bridges. This modernized El Paso customs and trade layout for the 20th century. Neighborhoods. This is the most emotional part. The South Side, Rio Central neighborhood was home to 5,600 people, mostly Mexican American. They were given fair market value for their homes, but many felt the compensation was too low and their history was being erased. Displacement mentioned that 630 separate properties, including grocery stores, churches, and schools, were destroyed to make way for the new channel and the land transfer. Identity. Today, the Chamizal National Memorial in El Paso serves as a peace park. It is unique because it doesn't focus on war. It focuses on the arts, hosting the Siglo de Oro drama festival to celebrate the shared Spanish language heritage of both sides. The losing land argument. Some people from El Paso at the time felt the United States was retreating. There were protests and even local lawsuits to stop the transfer, claiming it was unconstitutional for president to give away United States soil. The moral argument. Historians now debate if this was true justice for Mexico or just political theater. The United States hadn't been worried about the Cold War and the communism. Will they have ever given the land back? Most experts believe the answer is no. Conclusion and takeaway. So what? The border isn't a natural wall, it is a man made agreement. Final lesson. The Chamizal proves that even 100 years of arguing, a solution is possible without a single shot being fired. It turned a line of conflict into a shared project for El Paso and Juarez. Chamizal dispute and resolution. A Texas government case study in diplomacy and community impact. Historical event and structure. The Chamizal Tract, a century-long boundary dispute between El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, arising from the shifting Rio Grande. The dispute focused on the Chamizal tract of land, shifting borders, and the dispute land, 1899 to 1963. Analysis, significance in governance, model of diplomacy, resolved peacefully through the Chamizal Convention of 1963, setting a global precedent, defined boundaries, highlighted the complexities of using natural features as international borders, community impact El Paso and Juarez, cultural legacy, creation of Chamizal Memorial, United States, and Parque Público Federal El Chamizal, Mexico, as spaces for cultural exchange. Urban development led to improved flood control infrastructure and required the relocation of residents and businesses. Finally, to conclude this presentation about the Chamizal, El Paso, and Ciudad Juarez, we have the works cited.